I bet. Welcome back to another episode of Toxiris Discovers. Today we have an episode where we get into non-hip hop albums. So let's get right into it. But before we start, one important thing I want to note: I need y'all in the comments deciding on one thing. The man Kieran Cartwright, y'all know him, asked me on IG to put some more of these episodes in, and not just every fifth episode, something like every second episode or something like that. Would y'all be interested in doing something like this? Not only because it would expand my knowledge on overall music, but also because I feel like now the popular hip hop albums I haven't heard are slowly running out, and I have not heard anything from other genres. So let me know in the comments. I will put 2 comments where I'll say more episodes, and 1 comment where I say, yeah, keep it like this, it's okay. Just like the one you prefer, or just write a comment yourself, maybe even giving me more points as to why I should not do more episodes or why I should do more episodes. Let's get right into it though.
It's the game, we done came on. The game.
This time we have 2 albums I picked for myself and 5 suggested by the community. The first one I picked for myself is H.E.R. Volume 1 by H.E.R. It's an R&B record, as H.E.R. always has, and it's a pretty short one, only 22 minutes, 8 songs, and nothing really special. A lot of these songs on the album have a lot of streams and are very popular, especially for her first project, and so I thought to check it out, and honestly I'm kind of disappointed, because I really liked H.E.R.'s 2021 project, Back of My Mind, which is very long but very, very enjoyable. This one is kind of too laid back for me. She always has this more laid back type of style, but it's just on this one, it's just so laid back that it's almost lacking interesting points in my opinion. So it's not bad, but it's just not interesting enough. It still sounds really good, and the lyrics aren't bad either, especially for an R&B record. So I can appreciate that, but I do have to say that I expected more from her. I would overall rate the album at 7 out of 10 because it was still, as I said, enjoyable, but just not as enjoyable as I would have liked it to be. These 2 would be my favorite songs off of the project overall.
Down, when we're alone, I wanna zone out, baby. These days, I'm letting God handle all things above me.
Then we get right into the next project I picked for myself, which is Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa. I picked that one simply because, I don't know, many people talk about her. I hear a lot of songs on the radio or whatever. So I was like, might want to check it out. And it's not even that bad, honestly. I'm usually not the biggest pop fan out there. This is dance pop / electro pop, at least according to Wikipedia. As always, I don't know shit about these genres, so please just leave me alone. Well, this one is pretty interesting because even though lyrically it's really not that interesting at all, and production wise it's pretty bland and pretty pretty much the same thing over and over again, she does know how to make a very catchy hook. And at the end of the day, isn't that what pop music is for? To make a catchy hook, a catchy sounding song. And that's most of this album, honestly. There are a couple songs that are not that good, but especially in the first 5 tracks, most of them are very good and very enjoyable. So as a pop album, I gotta give it an 8 out of 10 in my opinion, because it's very solid. It does have a couple songs that are not that interesting, and it just doesn't stand out as much to me, but it is still very good and very enjoyable on a lot of ends. So with that being said, these 2 would be my favorite tracks. After that, we can run into the next project. The next project we got, first community suggestion of the day, Wonderful Rainbow Lightning Bolt, suggested by Isidani. I hope I didn't butcher that name. According to Wikipedia, noise rock. I think noise rock describes it pretty well because it does sound pretty noisy. There are not a lot of vocals on this album. I think the only vocals are on 1 track, which are 4 lines, which is already something hard for me to get into because I am a huge fan of vocals on tracks, as I've already said before. I think the instrumentals and the production are very, very important, but I do also appreciate vocals a lot. That was already the first thing that was kind of hard for me to get into. And the second thing is, as I already said, noise sounds pretty fitting because this album does have a lot of noisy sounding tracks, which at first sounded horrible, but the longer the album ran, it's not really that long, just 40 minutes, the longer the album was, the more I got into it, honestly. So I would still say it is something that I have to get used to. I would say it's probably an acquired taste, at least for me, but I do still think that it is really interesting and something I would like to hear more of, even though it's not maybe something I would slap into my playlist. These two would probably be my favorite tracks. Six 5 out of 10. Let's get to the next project. The next project being Royalty by Chris Brown, suggested by Lorson. Another R&B project in here, just that I'm usually not the biggest Chris Brown fan. This one is pretty good. It's alright, honestly. I think the biggest problem this project has is the one that all Chris Brown projects seem to have. It is the length. Like, this project is 18 tracks and not well over an hour, but an hour and 6 minutes long. And that is just pretty draining when you have no real lyrical content and your songs don't even sound that different from each other. This does not mean that all songs sound the same, but after a while they do start to blend in with each other and you can't really tell one track from another, in my opinion. There are two huge standouts on the project, which are these two.
How many nights I've been thinking of you? Zero. On the west side, trying to feel the breeze. On the mission, trying to fuck with AIGHT. She said she fell in love.
And these two tracks are amazing, and there are a couple more that are pretty good. But I think overall the album really just gets dragged down by its length. Because overall, we all know Chris Brown is a talented singer. We all know he has a great voice. I don't think there's a lot of debate on that. Well, I just think his songwriting overall is not that strong. Still, it was a pretty enjoyable project. I would give it a 7 out of 10. Let's get to the next one. That one being Death Metal by Panchiko, suggested by Syphic. Against all thoughts I had, this is not a death metal album. This is a emo / lo-fi / indie rock project, and honestly pretty boring in my opinion. Like, I did not really listen to the lyrical content of this one. I did not for most of these projects because, well, it is pretty hard focusing on both at the same time when the sounds are something so new and so different from what I know. Then it's not that easy to listen to both the sound and the lyrics intensively. So I gotta say, I can't really speak on the lyrics on this one. It just doesn't sound that interesting to me. Like, it does switch up the sound a lot, and it's not like really bad. It's just way less intense. First of all, way less intense than I expected, and second of all, way less intense than I hoped for, because it just doesn't give me anything that I can hold on to or anything very memorable, in my opinion. It just flows by and is not that interesting at all to me. So yeah, that I would give it a 6 out of 10 overall, because I still think it's not bad. It's still well produced. It still has some good production here and there, but it's just overall not as interesting as it could be, in my opinion. Then we have the second to last project of the day, which is Untrue by Burial, suggested by Kieran Cartwright. According to Wikipedia, dubstep, UK garage, whatever that is, or ambient music. This project kind of feels like going, well, through a forest at night. You're scared, but at the same time you're kind of happy. That doesn't make any sense. But maybe if you listen to the album, maybe if you know the album, it does make sense to you, because it has this kind of scary or kind of obnoxious vibe. But at the same time, it's kind of like giving you upbeat vibes and happy vibes. It's a weird mix. It's very intriguing, in my opinion. And I think that's all I can say to this album. It's really intriguing. It sounds really interesting. I don't know if I would bump these songs casually, But I don't know if they're made to be bumped casually. I think in the context of the album, they fit together very well. I think they end up making a very great piece altogether. But it's not something that where you can pick tracks out of and give your favorites, in my opinion. Like, that's just in my opinion. So I don't have two favorites on this project as I had for the others. Still, it is a pretty interesting project. Very well sounding project. And I would overall, just for the vibes, give it an 8 out of 10. Then we get into the last project of the day, which is Twin Fantasy by Car Seat Headrest, suggested by GGS. According to Wikipedia, indie rock, lo-fi / alternative rock. The only problem, literally the only problem this project has is the song length. This project has 10 tracks. Now you might think, okay, 10 tracks, maybe it's 30 minutes long. That would be 3 minutes each track. Maybe it's 50 minutes long, 5 minutes each track. It is 71 minutes long. So this project really takes, on average, 7 minutes a track, which is, at least for someone with my attention span, trash. Like, it is not a good idea. Especially if you think about the fact that there is one track that is only 2 minutes long. So there are 2 tracks, one being 13 minutes long and the other one being 16 minutes long. And those 2 tracks are my only issue with the album. The 13-minute track is not really that bad for me. It still has a lot of beat switches and keeps being interesting even though it is really long. But the 16-minute song on the back end of the project really dragged this album down. Like, it's still really, really good. You'll see in the final rating. But this album would be way closer to perfection if maybe these long songs would either be split into more songs because there were some beat switches in them. You could have just split them, in my opinion. Or if some parts of them would just be left out. Other than that, great vibe. Like, great instrumentation and great vocals. Like, other than that, I love this project. I was bumping this, having a very, very good time. Very enjoyable. So I would overall give it a 9 out of 10 because I do think it's a fantastic project. I just think these 2 tracks kind of drag it down a little bit.
And James Brown's stage presence, I will be your rock.
But that's all I had to say. Let me know what you think about making more of these episodes down in the comments. Other than that, suggest some normal rap projects for the next episode. And have a great one.
Remember back then, all them hoes ain't want me. Now I'm ballin', all them same hoes on me. Mama told me that this came with the money and the motherfucking fame. Even though I feel the same, I'm that nigga now. I'm that nigga now. I'm that nigga now. I'm that nigga now.